The universe had grown quiet. Too quiet. For centuries, countless civilizations had watched Earth, wondering why humans never ventured beyond their blue world. Ships of the galaxy's mightiest empires had scanned its skies, measured its signals, and sometimes even landed, only to find nothing. Empty cities, silent satellites, and a planet that seemed content to keep to itself. Then, one day, everything changed. From a distance, the galaxy's greatest observers noticed a strange pulse. Not a weapon, not a transmission, something alive, moving with purpose. It was coming from Earth, but not like before. The pulse carried intention. Whoever or whatever it was awake. And it was leaving. On the edge of the Sol system, the first alien ship to notice it froze. Its sensors could barely comprehend what it saw, a fleet of vessels emerging from Earth's orbit, sleek, massive, and armed beyond imagination. Not one of the countless empires had ever seen technology like this. The ships glimmered in the sunlight like steel stars, moving in perfect formation. Each vessel carried a signature of sheer destructive potential. Commander Xyler of the Androxy Dominion stared at his screens, unable to speak. It can't be humans," he finally whispered. His crew turned pale. For eons, humans were thought weak, primitive, a species too fragile to survive the galactic storms of war. Yet, here they were, leaving their homeworld as if it had been nothing more than a nursery. Back on Earth, the situation was far quieter. Cities thrived, oceans gleamed, and forests stretched endlessly. Humans moved with calm efficiency. They packed ships, organized formations, and boarded vessels as if leaving the planet had been planned for centuries. No alarms, no last-minute chaos, only precision. Each human carried purpose in their eyes, yet there was no arrogance. Only determination. Admiral Kale, standing on the bridge of the flagship Aurora's Wrath, observed the final countdown on the launch bay. She was older than most, her face lined with experience, her eyes sharp and unwavering. "Today," she said softly, almost to herself, "we remind them why they feared us once." In the void beyond Earth, alien fleets began to gather, sensing the movement. Messages raced across the stars. Fleets ready, defenses activated, warnings issued. The galaxy's empires were not blind to power. They remembered history, or at least the stories whispered across millennia. A human attack had been unthinkable, but these ships were not attacking yet. They were leaving. Sensors aboard the alien ships tried to analyze the human vessels. Energy readings went off the charts. Shields unmatched. Weapons unrecorded in any galactic archive. Movement patterns, predictable, yet flawless. For every empire that had tried to study humanity, it now became clear, they had underestimated them. Every calculation, every prediction had failed. On board Aurora's Wrath, humans moved with silent coordination. Engineers worked at consoles, soldiers checked their stations, and pilots ran simulations faster than any computer could record. Not one mistake occurred. The human fleet did not accelerate blindly. Every jump, every trajectory, was measured to perfection. And then, just as the first alien probes tried to warn their commanders, the humans disappeared. In a blink, faster than light itself could chase, the fleet vanished into the stars. The galaxy was left stunned. Communication grids failed. Sensors went dark. And across countless systems, rulers screamed orders, but there was no answer. The human fleet emerged near the edge of the Androxy Dominion's territory. Massive planets, glittering moons, and ancient space stations suddenly lay within reach. From every orbit, alarms screamed. The humans did not fire immediately. They hovered, observing, waiting. The aliens were panicked, unsure if this was an invasion or something else entirely. Admiral Kale watched the galactic commander's messages flood her display. "They think we came to fight," she said, voice calm. "But we came to remind them." Below the bridge, soldiers prepared. They did not chatter. They did not shout. Every man and woman on the fleet had trained for this moment, and all had waited patiently. Some had never seen war. Some had survived centuries of training for battles they would never want. But today, the galaxy would remember humanity. In the void, the first test came. A scout ship from the Dominion tried to escape, sending warning signals. It did not last a minute. A single human ship passed by, and the scout's engines failed, its systems burned out, its hull torn without even touching the human vessel. No weapons fired, no energy discharged, just human presence. And that was enough. Panic erupted. Systems that were thought untouchable failed. Fleets that were prepared to respond found themselves paralyzed. And across the galaxy, a single realization hit every empire at the same time: humanity had returned. And they had left their homeworld not as children of the past, but as masters of the future. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt fear. The galaxy's leaders were shaking. Across hundreds of light years, warlords, scientists, and emperors stared at their screens, struggling to comprehend what they were witnessing. Human ships were not attacking, yet. But every move they made screamed of control, precision, and power. In the Androxy Dominion's command chamber, Commander Zyler's claws tapped nervously on the console. They left Earth, and now they are here, he said, voice cracking slightly. No one has ever done this. Not in our history, not in any record. A younger officer, trembling, asked, "Sir, what do we do?" Zyler shook his head. "We watch. For now." Meanwhile, aboard Aurora's Wrath, Admiral Kale studied the stars. Each system they passed showed signs of civilization, of progress, but also fear. Humans did not strike blindly. They did not burn planets without reason. Instead, they moved like shadows, carefully, leaving alien fleets confused and cautious. Every human knew their role. Every ship, every pilot, and every soldier followed orders perfectly. Captain Lin, a young pilot with only 10 years in the fleet, stared at her instruments. She had trained her entire life for this moment, yet the reality of the human fleet in motion was breathtaking. "It's beautiful," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "We are not just leaving Earth. We are showing them we exist, and that we are not to be underestimated." In the Dominion's territory, scouts reported anomalies. Entire fleets were frozen in place as they tried to analyze the human ships. Energy readings were off the charts. Shields could not be matched. Weapons did not fire, yet systems failed. Panic rippled through every empire. Rumors spread. Some said humans were gods. Others whispered they had discovered forbidden technology, lost to time. But the humans did not move recklessly. They observed. They waited. Their fleet passed through star systems, silently scanning. And then, when they reached the edge of a highly fortified sector, they stopped. Admiral Kale called a meeting of the fleet's commanders. "This is not an attack," she said, her voice calm, though the tension in the room was palpable. "We are here to make them see what humans can do. If they understand, perhaps they will choose caution over war. If they do not, we are ready." On one of the outer planets, the Dominion's forces scrambled. Missile batteries and defense satellites lit up the sky. "They are preparing to strike," one officer shouted. Kale's eyes did not leave her display. "No," she said slowly. "They are preparing themselves. They do not yet understand what is already coming." Suddenly, alarms blared across the human fleet. A group of alien warships had dared to approach. They moved confidently, thinking that speed and numbers would give them an advantage. But the humans had expected them. A single vessel from the human fleet, smaller than the others but heavily armed, detached and approached the alien formation. Without warning, the alien ship's systems began to fail. Engines sputtered. Weapons locked up. Communications went silent. The humans did not fire a single shot, yet the effect was catastrophic. One by one, the alien vessels became nothing more than drifting husks in space. Back on the Dominion command, Zyler's eyes widened in disbelief. They did this without even touching them?" "Yes," muttered another officer. "It's as if they are ghosts." On the bridge of Aurora's Wrath, Kale observed the results calmly. "They will remember this day," she said. "They will remember the humans who walked away from their home, only to return stronger than ever." But not all humans were focused on fear and intimidation. Some looked to the stars with curiosity. Scientists, engineers, and explorers scanned the unknown regions of the galaxy, taking notes, gathering data. Humanity had not only returned as warriors, they had returned as observers, ready to learn as much as they could. Yet, even in the fleet's calm, there was a sense of urgency. Something ancient, something hidden, was stirring. In the dark regions beyond mapped space, sensors detected faint signals. Strange echoes of energy, unlike anything recorded before. Admiral Kale's brow furrowed. "Prepare all ships," she ordered. "We do not know what we will face. But we will face it together." As the human fleet moved deeper into alien space, civilizations across the galaxy scrambled to respond. Messages of fear, demands, and threats filled communication channels. But the humans remained silent. They moved as one. Every action calculated. Every decision precise. In the void of space, the first whispers spread from one empire to another. Humanity was back. And they were nothing like before. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy realized something terrifying. Humans had walked away from their home. And now, they were coming back. Not to beg, not to plead, not to negotiate. They were coming back to take their place among the stars, and the universe would never be the same. The humans had reached the outer rim of the Zephyrian cluster, a region feared by even the bravest of alien fleets. Ancient fortresses floated among gas giants, their weapons capable of tearing a planet apart. Civilizations that had thrived for millennia called this sector untouchable. And yet, the human fleet entered without hesitation. On the bridge of Aurora's Wrath, Admiral Kale studied the enemy fortresses. Sensors showed hundreds of missile silos, energy cannons, and fighter squadrons ready to strike. Most admirals in the galaxy would have paused, calculated odds, perhaps even retreated. Kale did none of that. Her eyes burned with resolve. "This is our path," she said softly. "We either walk forward, or we vanish like everyone expects." Captain Lin, sitting beside her, could feel her heart pounding. "Admiral, they're ready to fire. They won't hold back." Kale nodded, calm as ever. "Let them. That's what they want." The first wave of Zephyrian fighters approached. Sleek, deadly, and trained to annihilate anything smaller than their fortress, they surged forward with confidence. They had no idea what awaited them. Human ships spread out like shadows, creating impossible formations. Not one ship collided, not one weapon misfired. The Zephyrian fighters launched their first volley of energy beams, expecting to shred the humans in seconds. But the beams stopped mid-flight. Sensors on the Zephyrian ships overloaded. Weapons locked. Engines stuttered. One by one, the fighters spun out of control, drifting helplessly into the void. In the command room of the Zephyrian fortress, panic erupted. "Impossible! Nothing can stop them," one officer shouted. "They are controlling space itself," another whispered, trembling. Kale did not smile. Humans had trained for centuries, preparing for moments like this. Their technology did not break laws of physics, it bent them, subtly, invisibly but powerfully. One small fleet, one strategic strike, had already disarmed an entire enemy squadron without firing a shot. The humans moved deeper. Aurora's Wrath led, cutting through space with precision. The Zephyrian fortress unleashed its main cannons, enormous beams of energy tearing through space. Humans accelerated, weaving in impossible patterns, evading every shot. Then, when they were within striking distance, the human fleet acted. Small, specialized ships detached from the main formation. They moved like predators, slipping past defenses, disabling weapons, and hacking control systems. Within minutes, half of the fortress's defenses were neutralized. The humans had not destroyed anything permanently, they had shown capability, precision, and dominance. Fear spread through the fortress's ranks faster than any missile. Meanwhile, communications across the Zephyrian cluster were in chaos. Civilizations that had observed Earth for centuries whispered rumors that humans were no longer mortal, that they had discovered secrets buried for millennia, that their technology, strategy, and coordination made them unstoppable. Admiral Kale surveyed the chaos from her bridge. "We do not need to destroy them," she said. "We only need to make them understand." But even as humans demonstrated power, curiosity ran through the fleet. Explorers scanned the Zephyrian cluster, searching for ancient knowledge, lost artifacts, and systems no alien had dared approach. Humanity had returned not only as warriors, but as seekers of truth, hunters of the unknown. Their ships moved like shadows of the past, blending intelligence with strength. On one Zephyrian command deck, Commander Rethal stared at the viewports, trembling. "They are calculating, precise, unstoppable. We cannot fight them like we fought anyone else." Kale's voice echoed across her fleet. "Let them prepare. Let them think they have a chance. Humanity has always survived because we adapt, because we endure, because we never stop." In space, a single human ship approached the largest cannon platform of the fortress. With silent efficiency, it disabled the energy core, causing a massive cascade of system failures. Lights flickered. Shields collapsed. For the first time, the Zephyrian forces realized they were no longer in command. Across the galaxy, observers began to send messages to their leaders. Humans had returned. They were no longer confined to Earth. They had learned. They had trained. And they were coming for anyone who underestimated them. Even in victory, humans remained silent. They did not celebrate. They did not gloat. Every crew member focused on the mission. Every pilot, every soldier, every scientist knew that what they had done was only the beginning. And yet, somewhere in the dark reaches beyond known space, something stirred. Ancient, hidden, and dangerous. It had been waiting, observing, as humans walked away from Earth centuries ago. Now, with humanity awake and moving through the galaxy, it sensed a threat. Admiral Kale did not know it yet. But the first real test of human dominance was over. The next would be far more dangerous. And the galaxy, already trembling, would soon learn the true power of a species that once walked away from its home, and returned stronger than any force could imagine. The victory over the Zephyrian fortress had been swift. Humans had proven their superiority without firing full-strength weapons. Yet, the fleet did not linger to celebrate. There was something in the dark beyond mapped space, something ancient and patient, that stirred as they passed. On the bridge of Aurora's Wrath, Admiral Kale studied the sensors, frowning. "There's something out there," she said. "Something hiding." Captain Lin leaned closer, scanning the readings. "It's not a ship, it's massive. Energy readings unlike anything recorded." Kale nodded. "Then we prepare. Always prepare." No one spoke after that. Silence settled over the bridge. Every human crew member knew that this was no ordinary battle. Whatever lay beyond the edge of explored space had watched humanity walk away centuries ago. And now, it had noticed they were back. In the void, deep in uncharted regions, something massive shifted. Shadows of colossal ships, old beyond memory, moved with purpose. Energy pulses, faint yet terrifying, rippled through space. Civilizations far and wide felt it, a trembling in their systems, in their communications, a sense that something older than stars themselves was awake. The humans did not panic. Instead, they continued their march. Aurora's Wrath led the fleet, smaller ships in precise formations scanning for threats. Every crew member understood the stakes. Not one mistake could be made. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for centuries, and now it would understand, perhaps too late. The first signs came in strange waves of interference. Alien communications failed. Fleets that tried to respond went dark. Sensor readings became erratic. In one moment, ships reported targets. The next, they vanished. Panic spread across the galaxy, but the humans remained calm. Admiral Kale called a fleet-wide briefing. "We are not alone," she said. "And what we face is older than any history you've studied. But we do not fear it. Humanity does not wait for fear to act." Captain Lin's voice trembled slightly. "Admiral, can we survive it?" Kale's eyes did not waver. "We will. We always do. Humans are not just survivors. We adapt. We endure. And we strike when the moment is right." As they moved deeper, the first wave of the ancient force appeared. It was not a ship in the way humans knew ships. It was vast, stretching across hundreds of kilometers, glowing with energy that seemed alive. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, constantly shifting, impossible to define. The human fleet froze briefly, studying it. This was not an enemy they had prepared for. This was something that had existed before humans, before stars, perhaps before life itself. Yet, there was no fear, only focus. Every crew member knew that retreat was not an option. Humanity had returned to the galaxy, and they would not run. The ancient force pulsed, sending a shockwave through the void. Ships trembled. Some systems overloaded. The galaxy's fleets, already weakened from fear and confusion, fled in all directions. But the humans held their formation. Their ships moved in perfect synchrony, weaving through the energy pulses, their shields absorbing and adapting in ways the galaxy had never seen. On board Aurora's Wrath, Kale studied the patterns. "It's testing us," she said. "Learning. Adapting. But so are we." Captain Lin's hands moved quickly over the controls. "We can't hit it with normal weapons. It's not just steel or energy, it's alive." Kale nodded. "Then we fight like humans. We think. We adapt. We survive." Small human ships detached, moving around the colossal entity. Sensors scanned, analyzed, and calculated. Within minutes, the humans found weak points, areas where the ancient energy could be disrupted without engaging in a direct battle. The first strike was subtle, a pulse of electromagnetic waves timed perfectly with the entity's energy rhythms. It staggered slightly, as if surprised. The humans observed and adapted. Another strike followed, coordinated, precise and controlled. The entity roared in energy, but it could not predict human strategy. The galaxy watched in horror as humans, smaller in number, began to influence the outcome against a force older than civilization itself. Fleets that had once mocked Earth now trembled. Some sent messages begging for mercy. Others prepared to flee. Admiral Kale spoke calmly, her voice carrying across the fleet. "This is only the beginning. Humanity has walked away from Earth once. We returned not to beg, not to negotiate, but to remind the galaxy of our power. And today, they will remember." Deep in the void, the ancient entity pulsed again, larger, angrier, but not unstoppable. Humanity had found the first of its weaknesses. And the battle, though far from over, had shifted. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The human fleet moved forward, ready for what lay beyond. Silence returned for a brief moment. But every sensor, every crew member knew. This was the awakening of something far greater than they had ever faced. And humanity would meet it head-on. The void around the ancient entity pulsed with immense energy, shaking the human fleet. Every system on Aurora's Wrath read the fluctuations. The entity was alive, ancient, and unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Yet humans moved with calm precision, as if this moment had been prepared for since the dawn of time. Admiral Kale stood at the command bridge, eyes fixed on the readings. "This is not just a force of destruction," she said quietly. "It's a guardian, or a test. Something wants to see if we are worthy." Captain Lin shook her head, disbelief in her voice. "Admiral, it's bigger than anything we've ever fought. How can we possibly survive this?" Kale's voice was firm, unwavering. "We do not survive by fear. We survive by being human. Adaptation, strategy, intelligence. That's our weapon. That's our strength. The human fleet began to circle the entity, keeping just beyond the reach of its pulses. Smaller ships detached, scanning, mapping, analyzing. The entity roared in response, sending out tendrils of energy, testing the humans like a predator testing prey. But every human ship moved like clockwork, weaving through the waves, learning, observing. 4 hours, the standoff continued. Every alien fleet that had tried to approach had been crushed, or forced to retreat. The galaxy trembled at the sight of humans interacting with this being. Scholars whispered across star systems that this might be the first true sentient force in the universe, something older than stars, civilizations, even time itself. Then came the first breakthrough. Lieutenant Mara, a young intelligence officer aboard Aurora's Wrath, noticed a rhythm in the pulses. "Admiral," she said, pointing to her console. "The entity's energy pulses repeat. There's a pattern. It's like a heartbeat. If we sync with it, we can predict its attacks." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Do it. And be ready for anything. Every calculation matters." Using Mara's analysis, the human fleet adjusted their movements. They no longer dodged blindly. They flowed with the entity's rhythm, anticipating its energy waves before they struck. Alien ships tried the same, but their instincts and sensors could not match the humans' understanding. The difference was staggering. Even as humans learned, curiosity burned within them. Scientists on board smaller vessels probed, sending microprobes into the entity's energy field. Each probe returned data, showing a structure beneath the energy waves, something mechanical, organic, and alive all at once. It was a fusion of technology and something far older, something the galaxy had forgotten. Kale's face darkened. This is no ordinary weapon. It's an intelligence. It can think, adapt, and decide. And it has waited a long time for a species like ours. Captain Lin swallowed hard. Then why test us? Why not destroy us immediately? Kale did not answer immediately. Her gaze remained on the entity. Perhaps it wants to see if a species is capable of more than survival. Perhaps it wants to see if humans are capable of understanding and controlling power. Suddenly, a ripple of energy surged toward the fleet. Smaller ships spun helplessly, systems overloaded. But humans were ready. With perfect timing, the fleet responded, adjusting shields, redirecting energy flows, and countering the attack. One by one, the entity's tendrils faltered, unable to predict the humans' coordination. On board Aurora's Wrath, Kale allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible smile. "It's learning, and so are we." The galaxy watched in awe and terror. Observers sent warnings to their leaders. Humans were no longer mere survivors of a single planet. They were strategists, warriors, and thinkers unlike any species the galaxy had ever seen. And the ancient entity, which had silenced countless civilizations, was being challenged by a species it had likely never encountered. Deep in the void, the entity pulsed again, larger, brighter, almost angry. It sent a direct shockwave toward the humans, faster and more powerful than anything before. Ships struggled against it. Alarms blared. But the humans did not panic. Every calculation, every strategy, every movement was executed flawlessly. They countered the entity's pulse, absorbing and redirecting its energy, forcing it to stagger. Kale turned to her crew. "This is only the beginning," she said. "We are not here to destroy, yet. We are here to show the galaxy that humanity has returned, and we do not bow to fear. We bend it." And somewhere deep within the entity, a response formed, not of malice, but recognition. It had tested civilizations before, and most had failed. Humans were different. They did not merely react, they learned, adapted, and improved. The battle was far from over. The entity was vast, powerful, and ancient. But for the first time, the humans had made it pause. They had shown not only courage but intellect, precision, and unity. The galaxy, still trembling, could only watch. Humanity had not just returned. Humanity had begun to awaken forces older than stars, and the universe would never be the same. The human fleet had paused at the edge of the ancient entity's influence, but there was no hesitation in their movements. Every ship, every crew member, was ready. The entity had tested them, and the humans had adapted. Yet there was a lingering tension, a sense that the real challenge was only beginning. On the bridge of Aurora's Wrath, Admiral Kale studied the readings. The entity pulsed again, brighter and faster than ever. Its energy seemed to respond directly to the human's actions, as if it could sense strategy, intent, even thought. Captain Lin's hands moved over the controls, executing maneuvers as precise as a surgeon's scalpel. "Admiral, it's reacting differently this time. It's learning faster than before." Kale nodded. "Then we must move faster. Humans survive by adapting, but we dominate by understanding. Let's show it the depth of our intellect." Smaller reconnaissance ships detached from the main fleet, moving like shadows around the entity. They scanned, analyzed, and transmitted data back to the fleet in real time. Every pulse of energy from the entity was mapped, every reaction recorded. Humanity did not attack blindly. They calculated, predicted, and responded with precision. In the void, the entity shifted, sending waves of energy that distorted space itself. Some of the smaller human ships were tossed, systems temporarily failing. But the main fleet remained steady, their shields absorbing and adapting with a fluid intelligence no alien technology could match. Lieutenant Mara, monitoring energy flows, shouted across the bridge. "Admiral, the entity, it's forming a pattern. It's trying to communicate." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Then let's understand it. Humanity does not just destroy, we learn. Every encounter is a lesson." Using Mara's data, the fleet adjusted their formations, syncing their movements with the entity's pulses. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the energy waves began to stabilize. The entity's attacks became less erratic. It was testing the humans, yes, but it was also listening, responding, learning. For the first time, Admiral Kale spoke to the fleet, not as a commander but as a teacher. "This entity is ancient. It has seen empires rise and fall, planets born and die. Yet it has waited for a species like ours. Today, we are proving not our strength, but our intelligence. And intelligence is the deadliest weapon of all." Captain Lin adjusted her course, moving closer to the core of the entity. "Admiral, it's showing weak points. Subtle fluctuations in its energy. We could strike directly, disable it completely." Kale shook her head. "Not yet. We are not here to destroy blindly. We are here to learn, to demonstrate, to awaken understanding. One wrong move and we become just another failed civilization." As they circled the entity, strange images began to appear on the fleet's sensors. Symbols, patterns, almost like language, flickered across the waves of energy. Mara stared, eyes wide. "It's trying to communicate. Not words, but thought, emotion, logic. It wants us to see, understand." The humans responded in kind. Using subtle energy pulses and patterns from their ships, they began to speak back. Each pulse was precise, intentional, a question, an observation, a statement of presence. The ancient entity shifted again, not in attack, but in reaction. Curiosity, recognition, perhaps even respect. On the bridge, Kale allowed herself a small, rare smile. "They are listening. And they are learning. Humans have returned, and we are not here to beg, we are here to awaken the galaxy. And perhaps, even awaken this ancient guardian." In the void, the entity's form shimmered and pulsed with a rhythm that seemed alive. A massive, resonant hum vibrated through the fleet. It was not threatening, not destructive. It was acknowledgement. Humanity had proven they were worthy, not as conquerors, not as destroyers, but as learners, thinkers, and strategists. Across the galaxy, observers recorded the events in awe. Humans, a species once underestimated, had engaged an entity older than history itself. They had not fired their deadliest weapons. They had not destroyed recklessly. And yet, they had demonstrated power beyond comprehension. Admiral Cale's voice rang across the fleet. Today, the galaxy learns a truth long forgotten. Humans may walk away, but when we return, we do not come as children. We come as masters of thought, strategy, and will. And the universe will remember. The human fleet held formation, steady and calm, while the entity pulsed one final, massive wave. This time, it did not attack. Instead, it shimmered, almost as if bowing to the discipline, precision, and intelligence of humanity. The first true interaction with the ancient force had ended, not in destruction, but in acknowledgement. And somewhere, deep in the dark reaches beyond known space, something older than the stars stirred. It had witnessed humanity's return, and it understood a truth the galaxy had long forgotten. A species that walks away may return stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. The stage was set. The ancient entity had awakened. And humanity was ready. The ancient entity had paused, shimmering in the void, almost as if considering the humans before it. But Admiral Cale knew better. This was only the beginning of the final challenge. Humanity had proven intelligence, strategy, and precision, but the universe was about to see the full extent of their power. On the bridge of Aurora's wrath, Cale stood, calm yet commanding. Today, we finish what we started. Not with mindless destruction, but with control, skill, and unity. Humanity has returned, and we will show the galaxy why we were never to be underestimated. Captain Lin gripped the controls tightly. Admiral, it's reacting. The pulses are stronger, faster. This is bigger than anything we've faced. Cale nodded. Then we rise. Humans survive in chaos, but we dominate in it. The fleet moved as one, perfectly synchronized. Small ships danced around the entity, probing, scanning, and mapping every energy fluctuation. The entity responded with massive surges, waves of energy that would have destroyed any unprepared fleet. Yet humans adapted instantly, redirecting shields, countering attacks, and closing in on weak points with surgical precision. Lieutenant Mara shouted from her console. Admiral, its core, we can access it. There's a point of control deep inside the energy field. Cale's eyes narrowed. Then we go. Every ship follows the pattern. Precision over brute force. Humanity does not charge blindly. The fleet split into smaller groups, each targeting a specific area of the entity's massive structure. Energy pulses rippled violently, tearing through space, but human coordination was flawless. Ships moved in impossible formations, avoiding destruction, exploiting every weakness, and keeping the entity off balance. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Civilizations that had once laughed at Earth now witnessed a species capable of commanding forces older than stars. Humans did not fire indiscriminately. Every strike was calculated, every movement intentional. The entity, ancient and intelligent, struggled to respond to a force it could not predict. Inside the energy core, small specialized teams of humans approached the central node. Engineers, scientists, and soldiers worked simultaneously, synchronizing systems, sending energy pulses, and integrating intelligence. The entity roared in waves, trying to repel them, but the humans had already adapted to its rhythm. Every pulse met with a counter, every wave matched with understanding. Admiral Cale spoke over the fleet comms, calm and resolute. Remember, we do not destroy blindly. We demonstrate, we adapt, we command. Humanity does not fear. Humanity conquers, not by might alone, but by thought. As the final group reached the core, the entity surged violently. Energy flares lit up the void. Ships shuddered. Alarms screamed. Yet, in the center of the chaos, humans moved with perfect coordination. The core pulsed once, twice, and then responded. The ancient energy stabilized, no longer attacking. A silence fell. Not even the void of space had ever been this quiet. The galaxy waited, breathless. Then, a massive wave of light expanded outward from the entity, washing over the human fleet. But it was not destruction, it was acknowledgement, respect, recognition. Humanity had proven themselves worthy, not by force alone, but by intelligence, unity, and determination. Admiral Kale lowered her eyes briefly, whispering, "The galaxy will remember today. We have awakened not just the universe, but something older than time itself." Captain Lin exhaled, relief and awe mingling in her voice. We did it. It's acknowledging us." Kale nodded. "Yes. But remember, this is only the beginning. The galaxy is watching. They will test us. They will fear us. But we will endure. We always do." In the void, the entity shimmered one last time, its immense energy folding back into itself, no longer a threat but a sentinel. Somewhere in its consciousness, it recorded the human strategy, coordination, and intelligence. The universe had been reminded, a species that once walked away could return stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. Across the galaxy, fleets of aliens retreated, astonished, terrified, and humbled. Messages poured in, reports of the humans' return, stories of their power, accounts of the ancient entity responding to them. For centuries, Earth had been underestimated. Now, every civilization knew the truth. And somewhere on Aurora's wrath, Admiral Kale looked to the stars. "We have returned," she said quietly. "Not as children of a single world, but as masters of the galaxy. And anyone who doubts us will learn the hard way." The human fleet moved forward, steady and unyielding. The ancient entity had been confronted. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's unmatched skill. And the universe itself would never be the same again. For the first time in millennia, humans had walked among the stars, and the stars had taken notice.